Hey everybody, welcome back to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking to founder of Expio Digital Marketing, Andy Roller. Andy, great to have you on the show again. Appreciate your time. And I'm looking forward to diving in and talking about marketing and SEO and digital marketing. I love talking about it. And in today's world, I think it's more important than ever, especially in this, a world where everybody needs to be thinking digitally more than ever before. Smarter marketing is a click away, is what's on your website. And we're going to get into all the marketing and everything you do. But one of the things, and I know this from us talking, is I want to talk about your culture and how you have built a culture, not only through COVID, but even before COVID, and kind of the standards of your culture, and the vibe and energy that you kind of lead with.
Yeah. Well, thanks. It's great to see you, John. And just to give you a shout out, we appreciate your coaching with our company and Jody in particular, and you've done a great job with her. So around 2014, 2015 is when we kind of I started the company in 2011, but we sort of clarified our values and around culture around 2014, 2015. And so these are, as you know, our sort of three pillars of culture are the no BS, no bullshit, no assholes, and no ASAP. All three of those are borrowed from two different books. The no BS, yeah. I don't know where I picked that up, but the no assholes was a professor at Stanford who wrote the book, The No Asshole Rule. And then no ASAP was from the guys at Basecamp. And they talk about how ASAP is poison for a culture. Yeah. And so what we have is we sort of have these three inverted values. We we're customer service, we're data driven. Well, that's all great. I hope you are if you're in a digital agency. But what I wanted to have was something that we could remember and make decisions from. So they're inverted values. We sort of know what to do. What we need is a filter. And so these inverted values kind of create a filter. This is who we're not going to be, how we're not going to act, how we're not going to talk, how we're not going to treat people right. And so under each one of those values, like no BS. So for us, that would include not being dishonest, not misrepresenting metrics. That would include not having, games, power plays, games, and internally or with clients, representing ourselves accurately, not messing around. The no assholes is pretty obvious, but the one key to that is you think of that in terms of on your team, but we also don't tolerate asshole clients. And we have definitions for this. Like we have a whole document that outlines what exactly is an asshole according to us. And the biggest part of that, I could go down a list of traits, but the biggest part of that is that if you're dealing with a client or employee or contractor or vendor, someone who consistently demeans and disrespects who you are and what you do and leaves you feeling demeaned and disrespected, that is one of the key and core traits of how we would define an asshole. It doesn't mean that somebody has a bad day or they said a bad word or they say, that's not, who cares? But if they leave you disrespected and demeaned, and dishonored in a consistent pattern, that's to us is that. So we fire for that. We don't hire for that. Obviously, we fire clients over that. The no ASAP can be the confusing one because people are like, well, I hope you're in a hurry. I hope you get things done fast. Well, to us, having the value of no ASAP is how we get things done fast, because the fewer distractions in our workflow and the fewer times we have someone who has what they think is an emergency and 99% of the time it's not, disrupt everything else. It slows down the progress overall, right? So what I've always trained my team to do, and they come up with ideas on their own, but when a client will say ASAP, because it's ingrained, people will be like, I need this now. I need it ASAP. Yeah. Okay, well, exactly when do you need it? Well, by Thursday. Well, that's not ASAP. That's Thursday. And it's not an emergency. And so by asking a few quick little questions like that, we can train our clients to give us just give us a clear time frame. If you do need it now, as in 5 minutes, let's look at how we might be able to do that. We want to help you, but we don't want to have an emergency over nothing. And most of the time emergencies aren't real. So
yeah, I love that. And I love that, within your within your culture of what you do, you actually, define it. I think sometimes a lot of people say it, but they keep it, whatever it is, they keep it vague. They don't define it. So by defining it, you really, you take the thinking out of it. And then, part of a leader's job is keeping people safe. And so the more specific and measurable I see within organizations that, kind of the standards are, the more people understand that, what everyone is held accountable to. When you do, like you're talking about, fire a client because of it, where I think the stock goes up for the leader and the culture of the company is huge, because you're walking your talk. When it doesn't happen, then there's a one of my favorite lines is, it's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate. So then you have empty promises of cultures that say things but tolerate what they say they won't. And that makes, I think, a culture go, what I'll say, invisibly backwards, because everyone kind of pretends that they're confused, that they don't understand why. But it's, there's so many contradictions. So I appreciate, and I hear from the inside walls of your company that you really do, walk the talk. So I think it's great. I want to go back real quickly. One thing you talked about, Basecamp for ASAP. Are you talking about Basecamp, Jason Fried's company?
Yeah. Yep. Jason Fried and David. Yep.
Yeah. Rework,
yep.
And it doesn't have to be crazy at work. Rework is such a great book. And
I've read it. I love that. Yeah. Love that book. I recommend it to everyone. Yeah.
I actually interviewed Jason on the podcast. He was great. I met him at a Small Giants event, and then he spoke, and I had him on the show. But the book I highly recommend both of his books, because they just go through really basic, fundamental things that are so simple, they're almost complicated.
Yeah, but unpracticed by most companies.
Yes, well said.
You're right. Yeah, it's like a good workout book, with the perfect workout at the gym. Nobody does it, but it's simple. Yeah.
Right. No, I love it. Let's talk about marketing for a minute. I think the world of marketing, especially since March, 15th, mid-March of 2019 happened, really has taken on a new meaning for companies. And companies have, whether it's a retail product or a professional service firm, everybody has to do marketing differently. Everybody has to be digital. There is no more, well, I'll get to it. The people who were stuck in 2005 are now hopefully up to 2021, or 2020 at least. And so let's talk about how people need to be thinking about digital marketing today. And also, I'm just going to ask two questions in one, because I think they morph into each other. What is digital marketing? I think a lot of times people don't know what exactly that is.
Yeah, digital marketing is kind of like the term consulting. Sometimes it's just literally anything on the internet. It could be.
Yeah.
So digital marketing is simply a bucket that differentiates an agency from a traditional full service marketing agency. So a digital marketing company like mine, we might design, a business card or design something that can be printed, but we don't do any printing. We don't do any direct mail. Anything that deals with signage, billboards. We don't typically do that kind of stuff. Digital marketing typically refers to something that's not. This would be one part of it anyway. It's not in the physical print swag sort of space, and it deals with things like user experience, UX, user interfaces, UI. Email marketing would be considered a form of digital marketing. Social media marketing would be digital marketing. SEO would be a form of digital marketing, and SEM, search engine marketing, would be digital marketing. So those are sort of the big things that fit under that broader term. So
yeah. And so when a company today, Andy, is looking at their website and their 3, 6, 9, 12 month plan, and they look at it and they say, okay, here's my site. Here are the different platforms. Here are the strategies. I find a lot of times those are bigger than people think they are. and the consistency is so important. And so talk about how you work with someone who thinks they're doing it right, but really they're doing it wrong.
Sure. The reality is, well, let me just tell a quick story that'll hopefully illustrate some. No matter what you're marketing, digital, physical, whatever it is. Recently, was part of a discussion with the board. It's a volunteer organization, and about 60% of the board felt that the organization needed to make a change. Just not offering enough value to its members, and so forth. And about 40% said, no, we just need more marketing. We just need to do what we do. We just need more marketing. And I'm listening to this, and several of us on the board are marketing professionals. And it was interesting to me that none of us who were marketing professionals thought that we just needed more marketing. Because the argument was we need more platforms, we need more Facebook, we need more Instagram, we need more of this. And those of us who actually do that were all like, no. We need a much higher retention rate of the people who visit and stay as members, and we need to do a better job of delivering our basic value proposition, and then we can maybe turn on more of the marketing, right? Yeah. So I think that seems so, it's kind of like rework. It's what we were talking earlier. That seems so obvious, and it's marketing 101, but it's amazing how quickly professional people forget that before you turn on the gas or you turn up the amplifier, you got to be able to play the tune. Right.
Yeah.
So I would just start with that. So I think that is one of to answer your question, I think that happens a lot more than we realize. Is I think the companies think that they're doing a good job of marketing because they're on a large number of platforms and they're putting out a lot of content on this or that or whatever. None of that really matters if that fundamental thing isn't happening. And if that marketing doesn't tie back to it, so that that would be.
But let's talk about that. I love what you're talking about because I've read a couple recent studies that the average person spends, I don't know, give or take 2 to 3 seconds on your homepage and reads a blog for approximately 5.9 seconds. We don't have a lot, and the average human being has an attention span less than a goldfish of 7 seconds, under 7 seconds.
Yeah.
And so, getting people's attention, messaging and making it easy for them, making it easy to understand, easy to buy, easy to understand what you do. You really have no time to do that. I find a lot of companies who think they're doing it right have very difficult messaging. You go to a website, you don't even know what they're selling or how to buy from them. And so talk about the importance of messaging and how to get messaging to simplicity and being okay with selling on your website that your people are, when they come, they want to know how to work with you. And sometimes people kind of are just so esoteric about it.
Yeah. So yes, the messaging has to be, very concise. It's amazing to me in this day and age that we live that you'll see on a website, you'll see a button, that's maybe should be just a click here kind of button. And it's got an entire sentence on it instead of start now or start or next.
Yeah.
And it's mind boggling. And we're so trained and we're so lazy. If we've used a good interface and then you get to something like that, it's almost paralyzing. You're like, I don't even want to buy that thing anymore. Like I don't want to read all this. Now I don't know if that's good or bad, but it is the way it is. So so concise, intuitive, friendly looking, and navigation that makes sense to people. You don't want people scratching their head and walking away, like you said, like I'm not even sure where this is, how to find it, what these people do. It needs to be easy. I always think the greatest example in the world of simplicity is the Google homepage.
Yeah, so easy.
It's a box and a logo. And what they've done is they've given you the one thing that leads to all of their other ad revenue, all of their other services. Think of the Goliath that Google is, and it all starts with a logo and a search box.
Yeah,
and I think it's brilliant. I always have.
Right, and it's been that way for a long time. They haven't changed the simplicity of it,
and they don't need to. Right? Why would they? Now every once in a while they get creative with their logo on holidays, and they do little I love the Pac-Man Day, when they do the little Google logo with the Pac-Man game in it, whatever. But here's what's interesting to me is that companies is so difficult for them to remove things from their homepage or from their website in general. They just and there's these big fights about it's got to stay, as if when you look at the homepage, you're going to look at all that stuff at the same time anyway.
Yeah.
And getting people to prioritize a path, getting them to put in order what's important is a very, very difficult process. They just want to splatter it all out there instead of giving people a path through a journey that's intentional and that means something. It gets them where they need to go. So,
yeah, I love that. Let's talk a little bit about a journey, right? So people get a website, messaging, they're looking at digital marketing, and now the journey of, we've talked a little bit about web design, but, SEO and PPC and social media and what works for them. Your website is very simple. Smarter marketing is a click away. Expio isn't a tool set, suite, or web app. We're a team of creative strategists and expert digital marketers that lead, educate, and grow brand digital platforms. Get a custom proposal, right? And so simple to the point, meaning you can't just, you need the brain power behind it. But now, what does all of this mean, right? Which I think is confusing, hence the custom. So talk a little bit about the journey too. Do you have to do everything at once? How do you space it out? What does an editorial calendar look like for the majority of clients, et cetera?
Now, is this the sales journey or the journey that happens after the customer is a client, or after we have the client, I should say?
I would say after
the whole thing.
When somebody realizes, hey, we need you.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Obviously we'll have a proposal, we'll have an agreement. Then we have a very intentional setup process with that. It's about 10 bullet points that includes some forms and questionnaires, some phone calls, interviews, some platform access things, whatever. We really want to manage the expectations well of the client. So we introduce them not only to what we're doing, the services that they're getting, but why it matters, how we do it, and how we like to work with our clients as a company. So we try to take that proactive approach of let's teach these clients, some of whom don't know how to work in a healthy way with other companies. Let's teach them how we like to work together and how we treat people, right? So that's the initial part. It usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks just to get everything set up and ready and go, to get the editorial calendar. If we're doing blogging, 4 blogs a month, and we'll go through and we'll propose anywhere from a 30 to a 90-day calendar of topics that we'll, our writers will write up if we're talking about blogging, and then they'll look at that and they'll say, well, okay, let's make changes, whatever. We get that set up. We get all of their SEO. And the SEO part is sometimes that leads into a lot of these companies get free business consulting, because in order to make what we do work, we have to dig into the messaging. And so we have to start getting with sort of the thought leaders and leaders of the companies and get them to make some decisions on what they're trying to sell and what they think people are trying to buy. And get that messaging clear and straight. So when we put that into, the pay-per-click ads, you just get a little bit of space, a little bit of time there. So those ads are important. And the idea, and I could go more about what we do, but the idea behind all of the pieces of content, here's really what we're trying to get to, is that every touch that we make with a potential customer of that company, we want it to build trust and not take away, right? So spam is always going to take away trust. That's going to lead you further and further away from the person trying to get you. We want to build trust through what we're doing. We want them to feel a sense of value in it, that they're glad we called. They're glad we emailed. They're glad we asked the question. They're glad we put out the link or whatever it was. They feel like, oh, okay, thank you. At least it's not more just noise. Yeah. And it seems authentic to the brand. It seems like, okay, they're, these guys are sincere. So That's what we're after.
That's the way to do it. They gotta feel it. I love it. Andy, quick speed round. You ready?
Sure.
Favorite book and why?
We were talking about Rework, so I'm going to go with Rework, at least for business
It's
book.
such a great book. Shout out. Yeah, that book is incredible. Best piece of wisdom you ever received?
From my dad in my first business when I was having a really hard time. This is before I started Expio, but he said, son, the numbers will tell you where you're at, but not who you are.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one. Tell everybody who your ideal clients are and how they can connect with you.
Okay. Well, the ideal client has plenty of money to spend on marketing and
yeah, and understand that it's an investment, not an expense. Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is an investment, although SEO could easily be considered just the cost of doing business, because it's almost like, how do you find them? But an ideal client, they're excited about marketing. They're used to doing marketing. They're open to ideas. They don't want to just jump in and control the whole process. They want to listen to what we have to say, and they're fun to work with. And as far as their industry, we work across a bunch of different industries. Doesn't really matter. So
cool. Well, I appreciate you taking time to be on the show today, Andy. You're
Thank
always
you.
filled, with great insight, and most importantly, I mean, you got the intellect, you got a great business platform, you have great ideas, you have a great team of strategists, but you and your company have great hearts, and you kind of move from that space, and you walk your talk and create a great culture for not only you but for your team, and for your clients. Think community. If Andy and his team can help you, Expio, EXPIO.marketing, and it'll take you right to their website. Anything else? Any other ways they can connect with you, Andy?
That's a great way to do it. Just, there's lots of ways to connect on the site, and we'd love to talk to you. So
great. All right. Think community. Thanks very much. If Andy and his team can help you, please reach out. Andy, always good to see you. Appreciate you educating everybody on the importance of, just being digital. And, right now, pre-COVID studies were showing that 85% of the businesses that will be around in 2030 do not exist today. And that was before COVID.
Wow.
And so we must be digital. We must be ready. We must be innovating, and we must have the courage to do it and to jump in, and to be real time and current with everything that we do digitally. Our clients, our prospects today are there, and more will be there tomorrow. So I appreciate everything you're doing to get everybody to present day and beyond. Thanks so much for you and what you guys do. Thank community. Thanks so much. Thanks everybody. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, John. Have a good one.